Hi, I'm Brian V, and this is Why We Work. And I have the wonderful pleasure of speaking to my cousin, Andrea Chisholm. Good,
Hi.
good evening, young lady.
Hi.
Now, I am very happy that you've agreed to do this interview, and I'm also glad because you're a recent high school graduate.
I sure am. Graduated 2020.
Congratulations, which wasn't very long ago. You guys had your prom, I believe. You guys had to do
Yeah,
because of.
we did a little prom in my own house just because ours got canceled. So we did a little something something for just me and a group of friends.
Andrew, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit, again, I appreciate you coming on because you're the first person who's as young as you are, so your work experience will be limited. But I think you add a different aspect, a different value to this because we have a perspective from someone who's younger, who's thinking about what they want to do in their future. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And in terms of work, what was your first job?
I started working, I'll say. I was 12 and I babysat my brother because my mom was working. So babysitting was kind of my start to getting money. And then I think a year after that, when mom started playing hockey, I did the time for playing hockey and I got money from that. So that was a couple years. I was like 13, 14. Then my actual major consistent paying was at Lawtons Drugs when I turned 16. And I've
Did
been there since.
did you have so when you babysat your brother,
Mhm.
was that brought upon you? Were you asked to do it, or did you say, "Hey, do you guys need a break? I'll be happy to
I was
babysit."
asked because when Noah and we got off school at the same time. So, and mom was still working. So mom was like, oh, can you stay home? Like, are you okay to be alone just for like a half an hour, just until I get home? Because she got home around like 3:34 and we got home around 2:30. So I was asked. I couldn't really say no because we were home,
Hmm.
but it was not like, oh, I'll babysit him because you guys need a break. Wasn't that?
Was she paying you well?
She didn't pay me like cash. She paid me more with like
Food?
buying me buying me a phone. She got me a
Yeah.
phone. I don't
Okay.
have to worry about paying for it. So
Mhm.
those type of gifts, not like cold hard cash.
So doing the hockey was probably where you got cold hard cash.
Yeah, I got my first when I started doing hockey. That was like I had cash in my hands first time, and then once I started doing that, I kind of got into more babysitting. Like over the summer, I babysat my brother's friends with like a bunch of kids. There was four of them plus dogs and cats. So I got like, and I did that for the whole summer straight. So I did that. So that's kind of like between the hockey and then babysitting. That's when I started making my whole cash. It was
Who
like 13.
who was the connection for hockey?
Hockey, my mom met a woman and it just mom kind of led me, guided me to go there. And then a girl asked me, if you're free, try it out. And then I just kept going from there. And then one person saw me and was like, I want her to be on my team. So I have about three hockey teams that I do every single year full time. And then I just have random little teams
So what is it
every year.
your job you do when you do that? Are you still doing that?
I am still doing that.
So what do you
Hockey's
do?
Um, so I just do the time. I count the goals, I put the penalties up, and then I also get to write it on the time sheet that we have to give to the refs, and then they put it in the system. So I
That's
get to write
so
that
for anyone that doesn't is not familiar with hockey, that would be just like any other sport where you have a clock. So you're
in. Yeah.
displaying the numbers and the time and penalties and
Hmm.
all that sort of stuff. And I did that when I was younger too, and it was great fun. Do you remember when you first started? Like when
I,
they're like,
I do.
"Okay,
I was
you
with
got
my
to press
dad.
the time," and okay,
I was
how?
with my dad, and I remember I was so nervous because I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't want to mess up. So I never left my finger off of the start and stop button just to be ready at all times.
I know, but then you're getting to be a pro at
Now
it.
I'm just kind of casual. Now I'm good at it.
Yeah,
I'm
you
going
just
with
get up, stand, walk around, and say, "Oh, is it stopped? Okay."
Yep, and I'm on my phone sometimes. Kinda it's a really good fun paying job. I like being there.
Is there other things you can do with, like, hockey or any other sport to do with time and clock? And, like, did you ever think about refereeing or getting out there on the ice yourself?
I do want to referee hockey just because I'm not a good skater.
Mhm.
But I did look into with hockey just because I enjoyed because I was always at hockey and then school. But with hockey, not we have the normal season and then we have playoffs. And then during the summer, I've been able to do stuff over the summer too. So it kind of is an all year round thing. Depends.
And so into you went into babysitting as well, and how did you get your job in Lawtons? Lawtons is
Um,
a drugstore, a medicine store.
yeah. Mom worked next door to it in a long term care facility, and I was trying to get a job, and so I didn't want to really do fast food. It just didn't seem like my type of tea. So I'm like, I'll just go to Lawton's because I know mom works there and mom thought it was nice. And I went to apply to the one closer to me in Sackville, but they didn't get back to me. So I'm like, Mom, do you want to just take my resume down? Because I was in school. So she took it down for me. And then somehow I originally applied for like front store, like cashier. And then somehow someone else got a hold of my resume and now I'm in the post office.
What was so even with hockey, what was they asked you to do it, but were you starting to get a desire to have more money? What was your motivation to be actually working?
Motivation was the money. I think once I started getting it, I was around my school, like when I started high school, we had like Tim Hortons and there was Subway and Sobeys, and I could never really buy anything because I never had money on me. So then when I started seeing, oh, I have money now, I can just go get this, it started like, oh, I can go actually buy things, and I didn't have to rely on mom and dad asking for money. I could buy my own clothes if mom didn't want to buy it 'cause she was too expensive or stuff like that. It was just easier to have my own stuff, constantly asking for my parents for money.
So have you also what is your idea of money and how do you manage your money?
Manage my money. I'm the type of person where if I don't really need it, I don't buy it. I'm pretty good on myself when it comes to that. The biggest thing that I splurge on, I guess, is I buy a lot of food. But other than that, I try to maintain because I know I have to pay for a lot of things in the future. So might as well start now. And I have my parents always told me when I was younger, in order to have a good life, you need a foundation, and that's by working hard, and you need to have money.
So not to get out of the age you're in and graduating from high school, but what is your not necessarily your goal for your job, but your outlook of the future and what you need to do with the money that you have. So,
Well, if if I'm getting you correctly, the money that I'm saving right now, I have to pay for university for
okay.
school, which
Yeah.
is going into radiology,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what I'm going into, leading into.
So, yeah, I didn't want to get too far ahead of what
Mhm.
you're going to do, but so you just graduated from high school. How was your experience now from what you can remember back into middle school and elementary school and just graduating? Now you're in between, you haven't started university. Um, how was this experience of high school in terms, and even thinking about how you were educated and how the school system has prepared you to work in a career for the rest of your life?
I think schools prepared me in the way you wake up and you go somewhere where you don't want to do and do what you don't want to do. Like I love as much as I love school, I'm gonna miss it.
Uh-huh.
It's you wake up, you do the same thing, and it prepares you for you may not want to do it, but you have to do it, and it'll get you somewhere in life. But that's
S-
always like my school.
So have so has it taught you discipline? So you're acknowledging it's teaching you there's a system to life.
Yeah, definitely discipline. Like some people, I've heard people say like we may not need to all the things we learn in school, we may not need it in life. And I go, that's true, but that's what it's teaching us. You may not have to learn all these things, but that's what life is. You may not have to have all these things, but you gotta do it eventually.
In your school, you know, Sackville High School.
Yeah.
Uh, you've met and seen lots of people, other students. Would you
Mhm.
say your perspective of life, of, valuing money and planning for your future
Mm.
is a theme that's shared by other students as well? Or do you see a big variation, a big difference between students' attitudes towards their future?
With my friends, it's kind of half and half. Like some of my friends are on the same, they know what they need to do to get to some place, but other people that I talk to are like, I just need to go here just to graduate and then I'm done. Like I don't want to be here. So it's a really big mix of matches between the two. Like I see a lot of people, I need to do this, 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 and this to get where I need to do, and they're excited to go into the future. And there's other people who skip classes, who just waiting for it to be over, and then they can start their life. Then they can work hard. So I guess it's kind of a mix and match. I see a
Do you,
little bit, but
what do you think about the latter half where they're just waiting to get their life started? Do you think that they're not necessarily wrong, but are they going to be able to kick it on and start their life if they haven't been working?
I think
Will they have
they'll
difficulty? Yeah.
it'll be a lot harder for them, or like harder than some people who has started working, who are tried to work, who are continuing to work to continue a good life. It might be a little harder for them to get the jump in the motivation, considering they didn't have the motivation as a child, teenager. So how do they expect to get that motivation as soon as you're done high school? Like bam, I'm adult, motivation, work. So I think it's they need. I think some people need to realize it starts somewhere, and it's not happens so quickly. Like you have to work. You just have to have the mentality going throughout your whole middle school, high school, even sometimes elementary, to be quite honest. But
With these people, like, so if someone's older and we're trying to talk to people that are younger and say, okay, yeah, you need your motivation, you need to look into the future. Do you find that from an older person's perspective, it's usually falling on deaf ears, that the latter half of the students you just said, they probably wouldn't listen? And do you know if there's a reason why that, like, are we wasting our breath by suggesting starting earlier and finding a motivation?
I think it's harder to talk to kids who don't have the motivation that some others do, considering if someone's older and it kind of looks more like you're badgering them. It's kind of like, I don't want to listen to you, like, what do you know? Even though you are older and you do have more experience in life, it's like, what do you know? Like, you don't know my life, you don't know my business. And that's just kind of their mentality throughout life. So it sometimes could be a little challenging. I don't say it's a waste of time because I know at some point that there could be a breakthrough and they could like click like he was right or she was right in the end, but it may be a little more difficult than talking to some other people.
Do you ever take it upon yourself, if you, maybe more so a friend, but you wouldn't want to say that they're a slacker, but do you ever talk to people that you see that may not be that motivated, that your own
Yeah,
age?
I one of my best friends sometimes gets in those moods. Like she's a smart person, but sometimes like her motivation is slimmer than or weakened
Mhm,
sometimes, depends on
mhm.
the month. And so with that, I try to um just try to like maybe not ask, oh, what do you do, like did you do the homework, did you do this and this and this, because that just adds more pressure. So I just kind of give her space, let her do it, and if she wants to come to me and ask how to do things, then I'm for sure there. But I don't try to push anything on it because I've done it before and it turned ugly.
What about for you? Do you have, maybe your best friend or another friend, they see that you're not motivated at a particular day or over a particular topic and that you need encouragement? Do people
Yeah,
seek you
definitely.
out?
Because throughout high school, I've never missed a day of school. I've always tried to keep that perfect attendance to keep my grades up. So whenever I'm feeling like about things,
Mhm.
they notice really quickly. So then they're better at talking to me like, hey, what's going on? Like, because they're not used to it. So they're like, how can I help? They go really, really quickly versus when I see one of my friends, I kind of just slow it down, maybe give some time to think about everything. But definitely when I'm in that funk or something, they're normally right there.
Is there a commonality between you, who seems motivated, and some of your friends who may not be as motivated? Is there a common theme that says that in a slumpish sort of day that they're the same reasons, the same topics? Do you know what kind of gets you guys in a rut sometimes?
With my friends, it could be family life, it could be relationships, could be just someone said something online and they didn't like it, or they just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That's
Oh,
kind of
nice.
where my friends are. What with me, if I'm in a funk, it's normally like uh my funk's kind of like if I'm just tired or if I'm under a lot of stress with work. If I have a lot of things, if I don't take the time to like think about it, then I get a little overwhelmed. But normally it's that for me. But I get with all my friends, I get the family, friends, relationships, just work is stressing them out, trying to balance things, just having a bad day. It's kind of, it's never always the same, but it's one of those few. Like it's never just random.
You mentioned social media, and anyone that's my age or older, or maybe a little younger, we did not grow up with the same sort of influence social media has or doesn't have on you. I'm not sure is my question.
Mm.
How influential is the internet and social media apps, all the various ones, on your way of thinking and how you spend your day? And because you said that, one of your friends or you could have a bad day because someone said something about you online. I mean, thinking about it, for years, I guess people who have been more in the news would have experienced that if it was a newspaper or something like that. But
Yeah.
now it can happen to anyone so quickly. How
Hmm.
how much of impact does social media play on your thinking and your life?
I'm on it like 24/7. Like that with my age group, that's kind of all we know. I'm probably more on m- on it a lot more than others.
Hmm.
But with my thinking, I'm just kind of like I see people post and there's a lot of big opinions, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And other times, like, why do you need to share that? Like there's some, my thing is, there's some things that can be said in a right way, and it's how you say things. And social media just really twists it because if you're reading it, it's like you can twist and turn the tones. So I think when it comes to reading things online with news or just people just talking about it, you could put it in any perspective. So it's how you word it, I think, is what impacts people the most. Like if you point it, just one word could trigger anybody.
Do you have in your mind like a wall, a barrier to say, like to defend yourself, to know that, to protect yourself so it's not going to affect you so much if someone
Yeah,
does say something off the cuff, or even if they're saying something the truth that you don't like? Do you have some?
I like if someone said something, for example, like truthful, like I have a big mouth. That's that's fair. That's a fair statement. And I always try, I can't get upset at something that's true, especially when it's about me. When I know that it's true, I know I can't really deny it because I know it's there. But if it's something like something that I don't expect or like something about my appearance, I'm kind of just like, do they really know me? Like, because most people who have said something, they've kind of just seen me on social media, but they don't know who I am as a person. So I do try to just not look at it. It has gotten to me like couple times as it should as everybody, but I
Mhm.
do have a good wall that I'm like, I know there's a bunch of people that love me and support me who I am and what I look like. So that one person can't change everyone else's opinion.
I liked once I saw a cartoon, like one that you would see maybe in online, but in a newspaper, and it showed some person, just a caricature of a person at his computer, in a bubble was up there, and he was telling, there was his wife or something said, "Honey, come to bed," and he replied back, "No, no, honey, there's someone wrong on the internet." Right? So just remember, there's so many, and I just find that good, like, because you can get in debates and, um, you know, back and forth about
Right.
what someone's view is, and
Mhm.
there's always going to be someone wrong on the internet. You would never go to bed if you felt you had to defend yourself
Yeah.
against the world.
I try to not comment. If I
Yeah.
see a comment that's like, I just try to not because I know their opinion is not going to change. I'm going to say my truth, but they might not pay attention to me and then they'll just continue. So it's just to just don't answer and then they'll move on.
So in high school, how was your high school experience and then into graduation, and what did you think about your job prospects and what you wanted to do?
I loved my high school experience. It was I had a good group of friends going throughout. My jobs, I think once like grade 9 kind of ended, I kind of had my mind set on what I wanted to do. I did a lot of research during that process because grade 9, a lot of projects that we had to do was
Mhm,
what are your career? What's your career?
mhm,
It's like, what are you going to do to get to those classes that you need to do your life? So we had to do a
mhm,
lot of research on it.
mhm,
And the more research I did on what I wanted to do, the more I got excited about it and the more I continued to want to learn about it. So I think by the end of grade 9, I just did that. And then once we got to pick our classes in grade 9 for grade 10, and I was able to pick, I know I need this class, and this class in order to get to that class, to get to the university I want to go to get to that job. So with that, I had a lot of great guidance counselors and information that I could to continue to show what classes I needed. And then my extracurriculars like council, that helped me with my leadership to get me actually motivated to do the things I wanted to do too. And then, but the guidance counselors helped me out a lot.
What did you decide in the end that you wanted to take?
I'm gonna take radiology at Dalhousie. Gonna be an
And
extra
X-ray tech, did you say technician?
technician, yeah.
Yeah. So what, I mean, from grade 9, is there any reason why you chose this path?
I broke my leg the summer going into grade 9. And when I went to the hospital, I seen this girl. She was like 20
Sorry.
years old, maybe 22.
Playing soccer, mind you.
Oh yeah, I was playing soccer. I broke my leg. A girl fell on me. She broke my leg. She broke my tibia and my fibula. Big break. And then I seen the girl and I asked her. I'm like, I don't know why I asked her. I think I was just got out from sleeping, and I'm like, "How old are you?" And I think she said 22. I'm like, and I just watching her do all the things. It looked like so interesting considering she knew what buttons. There was a lot of
Mhm,
like a big desk of just buttons and knobs to play around with. And she's like, lift this, lift that. And I'm like, this looks so interesting. And
mhm,
then after I got out of the hospital and I went to my house, I Googled it and I'm just like, and I kept on researching it. Mom and I did a little researching and I'm just like, I want to learn more about it. And then when I got into school, we were able to have that project and I got to really dive into it. And it just, I knew I always wanted to do something medical, but I'm
mhm.
not really good at like seeing a lot of blood. Like I couldn't cut open a stomach. That'd be awful. But I knew I wanted to do something that way. And being able with X-ray technology, I could do ultrasounds or like
Mhm.
CAT scans. Like there's a big wide range of what I could do. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna try that because that's something I've been interested in and want to do, but I don't have to see all the gloriness.
So it was good you broke your leg?
Yeah. Um, I mean, I was in a cast for the whole summer, but looking back at it, I now know what I want to do in life. So kudos to my broken leg.
Kudos. Are you still playing soccer?
I sure am.
Are you going to try out for which school did you decide to go to? Which I think I would
Yeah.
know. Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Are you
Yeah.
gonna go out for the soccer team?
No, that is for like really, really good people, and I'm not that really good. I'm like mediocre good. So I play on like a senior women's team. So I play on a league, but I'm not playing with the school. The school you have to get like not only do you have to try out, but a lot of people get sponsored from watching people at high school soccer. And my high school soccer career was not the best.
Well, you had a broken leg for. You're out for what
Yeah,
is
I had a broken leg
you're out for a season, no?
2 seasons.
Well, there you go. Well, there's only 3 seasons of high school soccer, so it'd be hard
That's
to
true.
do you have an
Yeah.
interest in it? Or you're done with
Um,
that
no,
competitive?
I like playing soccer with the people I play with now. I don't think I'd be able to play at that type of level right now, just because the girls who play there have played and were on like high level teams from like 12 years old to keep keep
Mhm.
going. So I don't think I think about it. I'd love to go to games. I'll be the biggest fan ever, but I like where I am when it comes to my senior women's.
Andrea, I asked you about this before, and I think it's comparing yourself to me, who went to Sackville High School. My mind was surely not as clear as yours, and determined and focused. And I asked permission of this before. Can you say a little bit about yourself, of where you actually came from and how you come to be where you are now?
Yeah, so I was born in Guangzhou, China, and at 15 months old, I was adopted from with my mom and dad. I came to Canada and started my life.
It's and you say it so easily.
Mhm.
Um, but anyone can appreciate. I think I saw something yesterday, about a family doing something, and um, they had an adopted child, and they did many things for their children,
Mhm.
um, and it's like, heartwarming to hear something like that. And even the person of the show, which I didn't even know, the prophet. I don't know if you've ever seen this show, The Prophet, but he goes around helping people in their businesses, and I didn't know
Yeah,
that he was also adopted himself.
really.
Marcus something. And I like listening to you for the last oh hour, sorry to take your time, and like how clear you are, and you're not, I mean, there's many things that people can use as an excuse in their life to,
Mhm.
their crutch, if you will. I know you were on crutches for a long time,
Yeah,
and you probably don't like them, but it's
I don't.
in none of that were you throwing in, I can't do this. I mean, I'm not very impressed with you wouldn't be willing to try out for the Dalhousie girls soccer team, because I was not a good football player, but I tried out for Acadia and tried out and made the team. And I mean, like, watch the movie Rudy. Like, if you ever have a desire, but if you really just don't want to, then that's a
Yeah.
whole different cup of tea. But you're not using that as an excuse, and you're living the life that you seemingly want to live,
Mhm.
that may not be perfect, but you have this motivation. Can you share your thought process in how you think about being from China, being adopted, and then having this kind of a different lease on life?
Yeah. I everything that I do in go looking back, like all the accomplishments I have, it's kind of like I'm so grateful being here. Like I always say, I could be anywhere in the world, considering I could have stayed in China. I could have been in England. Like Lord knows where I could have ended up. So it makes me feel really thankful that I ended up here because I think I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have gotten these opportunities without the push of my parents. Like the structure and the way that they raised me was amazing. Like I won't take it back for a heartbeat. Like a lot of people, they ask like they've said your do you know your birth mom, or like they've called my mom like your adoptive mother. And the first time I heard that, I'm like, I've never heard that because I've always just like my mom's my mom. I would never think of anything else like that. And I think with that, the mentality of just knowing like even though I have my birth mother, there's my mother. So it's like something that I think I've taught because I do have adopted friends, and they kind of see differently than I do. It's just like I like to do all the things that I do, and I'm proud of the things that I do because I know in like my own weird way, it's like I'm doing this to try to show my parents how grateful and thankful that I am that they did that process because without them, I wouldn't have gotten there.
I think you have a pretty good perspective. And everyone has hard things in life,
Mhm.
um, but you seem to be handling this part rather well. So kudos to you on that.
Thanks.
What is the most difficult for you? Could be your job that you have at Lawtons. What is it, a recent grad? What is most difficult in your life now in terms of work or just getting into it?
Um, I think trying to balance now, because everything's online, I think trying to balance work and school now, because I know my boss, like once school became online, I was at work every single day, and that's been a routine since March. So I think that's been a little difficult time for my boss, knowing that I won't be there all the time, and I'll just be there like on my normal weekends. So I think that's going to be the biggest adjustment and the biggest stress that I'm having. Just like, how can I still make like good amount of money to pay for the things I do, but still keep on top of my grades? So I'm trying to balance that. And my boss is doing really well with keeping giving me flexible hours throughout school.
Hmm.
So she's been a real good person to help there. But then having like again my parents, they've been able to help me with not only paying for half of my tuition, but just being a good support, mental support, asking me every single day how my day at work was doing, like if it was stressful, like let's talk about it, or like helping me to figure out all my classes, get my schedule, get my things going. So
Yeah,
my
and
computer that my mom recently bought
yeah,
me.
and kudos to your parents because they also took care of me for a period of time and still are taking care of me
Yeah.
in some way or another. What is something that you like about the work that you do? Or, what is the greatest joy you get out of doing what you do so far?
I like I like the customer service. I like meeting new people. I like talking to people. They're 95% of them are very pleasant. There's the weird five of like, yeah, but I love being around people. The people that I work in Bedford, so the people there are just they're really nice, and the
Hmm.
coworkers I have, they're really nice, really multicultural. I have a lot of Middle Easterns. I have a couple Asians. Like it's not here in Sackville. There's a lot more black or white, I guess you want to say. So it's really nice to have a big, wide community over there.
That's an interesting topic of multiculturalism and diversity. You
Mhm.
live in a non-Asian home, but you're from Asia and you work how do you find you're treated on a general basis, or even more specifically, how difficult or easy is this for you?
Sometimes I forget that I'm Asian, to be quite honest. Just because a lot of my friends are white, my family is white. I'm like, it's not that I'm not proud of being Asian. It just sometimes slips my mind. So when I'm at work and sometimes people are like, "Where are you from?" I'm kind of like, "How do they know that I'm not from here?" Just because I sometimes forget my physical appearance. But um, on the good note, most people are pretty nice with asking like, "Are you from China? Like, where are you from? China? Like, where in China are you from?" Like, there's no crazy, crazy comments I've had. So it's
There's
a good
with that question, like where are you from? I think there's a kind of a dichotomy. There's two things that go on there. There's some people as ignorant to, and they may mean it not necessarily in a good way, like where are you from, right? You're not from here. But I think I've even asked people like curiously, because if, you know, I guess even if we would say indigenous people, if you saw an indigenous person, you would say, oh, well, they're from Canada, probably, most likely. But
yeah.
anyone besides that would be, where are you from? You might not, as you said, get white people who would say, but really we should probably ask more white people, where are you from? Like, and we'll just say, here, well,
Mhm.
where are your grandparents from? Because mine were from England and France and that.
Yeah.
So we should be asking those questions more often. Like, what is your history? What is your family history? Maybe come up with a
Hmm.
better question. But yeah, I think there's an ignorance for some people, like, "Oh, where are you from?" But there's also other
Hmm.
people like, oh, well, likely
Hmm.
you or your parents have only been here for a generation or so. Where were they prior to that? So I think not generally speaking to people who they see on the street.
Yeah.
So there's a dichotomy between that. How,
Mhm.
Andrea, has work brought you through life in your from your first babysitting to some hockey to Lawtons?
Um,
How has it assisted you and helped you grow and mature?
grow as I can wake up at 7 a.m. and not complain. That's more of a joke. Um, but as I think I'm just more disciplined. I'm able to, a lot of my friends that I have, they're just like, how can you work so much? I'm just like, we have to do it at some point. And I have since starting so young and like once I did hockey, I was at every single game, every single weekend from Friday to Sunday. I wanted to go. I wanted to do it. So I think just the desire of and the motivation of wanting to do something to
Hmm.
not only help myself, but maybe to see. I'm a very big people person. I love seeing people. I love meeting new people. So I think this desire of wanting the money, being with other people, meeting other people was just it kind of made my transition to work at Lawtons a lot easier. I think I'm more mature, nah, not mature, but mature than some others, I guess. I think I have a good balance between both.
Mhm. Where can people find you if they wanted you? You're on social media, and I don't want a bunch of people trying to contact you. But if they wanted to find out maybe about radiology, maybe there's a a younger you in grade 9 thinking about it,
Yeah.
and they want to contact you or something. Where could someone easily contact you, or most
Easily
easily?
contact me is on Facebook because sorry, my Instagram is private.
Good answer. Very. See, there's that wall. There's that wall that I was asking.
Yeah.
And in close, is there anything else you'd like to say about this, Andrea? And because I have a closing question for you.
Closing comment. I had fun.
That's good. Um, and I did too. And I think anyone listening to this could be encouraged to know that there is there is hope for our future if there's more people like you. Um, why do you work, Andrea? And
Oh.
even thinking about, you're going to graduate and you're going
Mhm.
to get a job in radiology. And you never know, your job might change. You might open up a stomach or something. But why do you work?
I think I work for the fact of the money part, but
Yeah.
actually I work because I like being around people with the same everyone that knows that has a job has kind of the same motivation, and I love being around people that are different but have the same mindset as me and are able to just come together and like we have the same headspace, we know what we need to do, and I love that environment of we know what we need to get done, we have a plan, we this is what we're going to do. I like feeling like that. That's kind of my personality. I like knowing exactly what we're going to do. So working has really helped me not um not like show it more, but I was always known as a control freak, so I tried to hide it a little bit at going into junior high, high school. But once I started working, I'm just like, just embrace it, and so it's been able to get my leadership goals out there and become more independent and more um yeah more independent with uh that. That's all I got.
Perfect. It's a great answer. It's a very good answer. So, Andrea, I thank you again for taking the time to be here, and I appreciate and I look forward to seeing your graduation and you getting your career started.
Thanks.
Talk to you later, Andrea. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye
Bye.
bye.